Everyone, myself Forever. In today's session, we are seeing that the USDJPY is hovering just above 109, looking for a fresh breakout. Earlier in the day, it did try to rise and break above the resistance on the higher side, which has kept the gains just closer to, just below, you can say, at 109.5. And from there on, as the US session has progressed, it has given up most of the European session gains, and now it looks like it might break on the lower side. So it is quite possible that we might get a bearish breakout at a 109 level. But of course, unless and until we have the confirmation, we have to keep watch and stand ready for trading opportunity as and when it arises. So in this session of market movers, we will be looking at the technical aspects and some optimum levels which we can keep a watch on and go for the trade if we feel that the risk reward ratio is optimum enough. If you consider the data docket for the day, earlier in the day we got the euro area retail sales, and the retail sales rebound, which has been evident for last couple of months, is holding well in the month of March also. And after the strong numbers which we had for the month of February, where the gains were of 4.2% in terms of month on month, we are seeing the similar trajectory, albeit at a slower pace, but even the growth of 2.7% on back of strong base is quite good, to say the least. And if we compare these numbers in terms of year on year, the rise is phenomenal at 12%, but that's also because in the month of March in 2020, we had widespread lockdown and the pandemic was just starting, which was forcing most of the governments in the euro area to impose restrictions on economic activity, and that had, of course, negatively impacted the retail sales in that month. Now, this March is looking a lot better, and I think this party is likely to continue for at least next couple of months. Moving on to the Bank of England's monetary policy announcement, as expected, Bank of England didn't tinker with its interest rates. It has left the interest rates unchanged at 0.1%. At the same time, it has said that it is going to slow down its quantitative easing program. It has not yet announced any changes to the overall envelope, but the pace of government bond purchases is going to be slow to, I think, just little above 3. Closer to, I don't have the exact number, but it is most probably 3.4 billion UK pound per week compared to the prior number of UK pound 4.4 billion. You should refer to the fine print if you want to be precise about these changes. Now, for the US session, we had these initial jobless claims for the last week, which ended 1st of May. And here we are seeing that the print is below 500,000 after almost a year, and this is the lowest it has been since the pandemic began. So the US labor market strength is ongoing, and as a result of that, we are seeing more and more jobs being added, and of course, less and less people are forced to apply for the initial jobless claims, and that's a positive development for the US economy as a whole, as it increases the purchasing power, and we will be looking at gains for the economy moving ahead. Now let's shift our attention to the technical outlook. First, we will consider the USDJPY. How this level of 109 is crucial for the USDJPY, and then we will also see the Euro USD. In yesterday's session, I had talked about the Euro USD holding steady closer to 1.20 and a possible retracement on that level. But even in that point in time, I wasn't really sure if the retracement was going to be this strong, but it has been doing well for the session, and we will see how these strong gains in Euro USD starting from 1.2 are likely to impact its trajectory moving forward. So let's get started with the USD JPY's technical outlook first. This is the daily time frame chart, and as is evident from the daily time frame chart, we have seen USDJPY holding closer to this support area, and for last couple of sessions, it has basically hovered in between 109 on the lower side and 109.5 on the higher side. Today, it's no different. It is yet to see any clear-cut breakout on either side. But looking at its price formation, I think the probability is a lot higher for bearish breakout, and in that case we can expect the decline to extend towards even 108.5 at the least. On a larger time frame, the picture is not that clear. We had this phenomenal rally which had got the USD closer to 111, and from there on it corrected somewhat. Now it is holding in between. So as a result of that, it's difficult to draw a clear-cut inference. So I think in near term, it will be better for us to trade using the lower time frame chartings like 4 hourly and even hourly to be optimum with our trading setup. If we consider the pivot point formation, we have this central pivot point in place around 109, just little above 109 at 109.20. And this is the price range in which the USD is hovering for last couple of sessions. As I said, on the lower side, just above the 109, it is finding crucial support, and that's holding well. And if you consider the regression curve after this reversal starting closer to 108, we had these gains of more than 150 pips, and as a result of that, the regression curve duly followed the price action and started to bend on the upside. But now, again, the price action has shifted the gears and it has gone sideways, and now it has even entered in the lower band of this regression curve. So as a result of that, I think we will have to be a bit cautious while looking for the buying opportunity here. And if we see that today's session, the USDJPY closes below this single pivot point zone, then in next session we can expect a dip towards this prior swing low. So at the minimum, the target will work out closer to 108.5. And if we consider the larger picture, we don't really have any support in sight, at least till this first support of this month's pivot point series, which is there around 107.5, but that's not the price range we are going to target for today's session. So we will be keeping our stop losses and target price fairly sharp, and I think we can expect a move on the lower side. And for that, if you are looking for shorting opportunities in today's session, I would say that immediate swing high can be considered as a possible stop loss. This confluence area of 50 and 100 SMA should be a good point to start with. And as long as price action remains below it, I think the chances for continuation of this downward pressure in today's session is likely to push the USDJPY eventually below this support on the 109. And if that happens, if we have the breakout on the lower side and if the USDJPY moves below these 200 SMA, then we don't really have support in place on the lower side. And as a result of that, we can expect a move at least towards this 108.5, and that brings up the possibility of around 50-60 pips trade in USDJPY while keeping the risk of around 20-25 pips for the stop loss. So target the entry anywhere below this confluence area in today's session while keeping the stop loss just little above the prior swing high. I think even immediate swing high of around 109.4 should be a good stop loss. And as I said, we can then expect a breakout on the lower side, and the risk reward ratio also looks good enough. Now moving on to the Euro USD, the theme is same as the USD is showing the signs of weakness. We will be looking for possible implications for the Euro USD. If you consider the daily time frame chart, after this rally, we had the correction for the Euro USD, and after correcting towards 1.20, it is finding support on the lower side, and it has rebounded quite sharply in this session. So looking at that, I think it will not be a prudent idea to go for the short trade in Euro USD in today's session. At least, of course, we can go for the short sell trade, but today is not that day, I feel. And if we want to go for any trading opportunity, it will be better for us to target for the buy trade. But as we have already seen sharp move of more than 50 pips, it's quite difficult to find the optimum trading opportunity. But we will see some of the key levels moving forward. Maybe in tomorrow's session, we can expect to have the opportunities arising for us. And in lower time frame of 4 hourly, we have this central pivot point of around 1.195, and it didn't really correct towards those levels, and 1.2 proved good enough for the Euro USD to consolidate and then start this move on the higher side. And now that it has gotten closer to this immediate swing high, I think we can expect some consolidation on these levels. And I'm not really advising initiation of the fresh trade straight away. And for most part of this session, I think we are not really likely to get the optimum entry point, and rather than that, we will be mostly relying on the lower time frame chart, considering the price action is happening in the bullish bullish side of this central pivot point, and we can expect in due course of time the possibility of Euro USD trying to get closer to or eventually even past this immediate swing high established around 1.215, and the next resistance stands far away at 1.22. So we do have the possibility of Euro USD starting its bull run, but for that I think we will have to keep in mind some of the key levels which should hold in sessions ahead, and one of the key level is going to be this confluence area of 50 and 100 smas. We have these two smas converging closer to 1.202, and I think this is the price range which you can target moving forward. If we see some sort of correction happening in the Euro USD, and after that, if we see that Euro USD is holding and consolidating above this convergence of these two key SMA, then we can bet on possible resurgence and eventual break above these 200 SMA. Right now, the Euro USD has gone on to touch these 200 SMA, but as of now, we don't really have any breakout above that. But you never know. By the time we come back for trading in tomorrow's European trading session, we might have better clarity. And as I said, if we get fresh swing high above this immediate swing high, this prior swing high, then that will result in the formation of a higher high, and eventually we can expect the formation of a higher low also if we see that this convergence is able to provide the due support on the lower side, and Euro USD respects these SMAs and holds above it. In that case, we can look for trading opportunity in today's session while keeping the stop loss below the today's low. I think the stop loss anywhere below 1.20 should be good enough if we are eyeing the entry anywhere in the price band of 1.202 to 1.23. So that's for next session, and we will have to wait and see how the situation evolves for the Euro USD. So that's my take on the Euro USD, looking at its current price formation. And if you have any query or any idea to share, you can write to me in the feedback section, and I will be more than happy to take the discussion forward. Before I sign off, I would also like to remind of the risk associated with trading in the financial instrument, and one should be careful while using the information provided. Have a fabulous day ahead. Do subscribe to the Ducoscopy webinar channel. Thank you all for joining in. Goodbye.